Hey guys! So today I'm doing another book haul and it feels like ages and ages since I've done one because it has been. So this is going to be a big summer book haul. I haven't actually been buying that many books because I'm trying to read through some and get rid of them and kind of condense my stash a little bit. But there are still about 15 or 20, so get ready. The first up is Sex, Suicide and Serotonin by Debbie Hampton. This is one of 4 that I've actually got from a publishing company called Triggerpub. They specialise in mental health books and I've read 2.5 of them, 2.5 of their books now, and they're all really good. They're really inspirational. They make me want to get my poo together and sort out my life, and that's what I need from any kind of mental health based book or resource of any kind. So yeah, this is all about the author's suicide attempt and what happened after it didn't work. This is the longest one that I've got from them and it's about 250 pages. So I quite like that they're very short because it means that they're more kind of accessible. I find that mental health books can be quite draining, and the idea of reading a 300-page one, 350-page one is just not something that I want to do. So that's number 1, and I really like the cover for this. I think it's nice. Right, this is The Rosie Effect by Graham Simsion. I've read The Rosie Project, which is kind of the prequel to this, and I loved it. I thought, yeah, it was just a really kind of different love story to what you normally read. So it's about a 41-year-old man who's looking for love, and he develops this kind of, not like a questionnaire, like a scientific way of finding somebody that he can love, and he eventually realises that it doesn't really work. So this is about him and his partner that he actually finds and how they're dealing with marriage. So I really like the cover as well. I think it's pretty. The first one had a lobster on here. Third up is The Pact by Jodi Picoult. Basically me and my friend Amy we told each other what our top 3 favourite books in the entire world are and bought them. So this is one of hers. It's what got her back into reading after a time of not reading, and so yeah, basically I'm reading it. I've given her, or well, suggested to her Dracula, Wuthering Heights and The Hate U Give because they're my top 3 books of all time. This says, when Chris wakes up in hospital, Emily is the first person he asks for. She is the love of his life, but Emily is dead and Chris is the sole witness to what happened in the park that night. He claims it was a suicide pact. They were both meant to die. Then the investigation turns up motive for murder and there is only one suspect. So it sounds like a bit of a thriller with obviously a kind of twist on mental health, and I'm really excited for this one. I love the cover for this. This is the first young adult book of the haul. I don't actually have that many this time, which is a bit sad. But yeah, I think this cover is beautiful. There's a film based on this book now. So I've seen the trailer for the film but not the actual film. It's all about a girl that has to live inside, and because of allergies that the outside world brings, and it's what happens when she kind of rebels against that need. So I'm really excited for that one. Right, this is actually a really exciting one. It's Fierce by Gin Phillips. This is coming out on the 9th of August, and I've got sent this special copy to basically do an Instagram stories read along on the 12th of August, so I'll leave my Instagram down below. Basically there's little note cards at different points in the book for you to share your thoughts on what's happening, and the book is kind of, you're meant to be reading it in real time, so the book starts at 4:55 on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon I think, and that's when you're meant to start reading the book. So I think that's a really just intriguing idea, that you sit and you read the whole book in one sitting and you follow it along kind of minute for minute. It's all about a day at the zoo with a mum and a son, and everything kind of goes wrong, and it's, yeah, it's a thriller. I really like the spine. I think it's pretty, and I'm just really excited to sit down and read a book like with other people. On Instagram stories there's a set of bloggers that are working on it, and I actually got given 1 copy for me and 1 copy for a friend. So yeah, I'm passing it on to Amy and I'm excited to see what she thinks too. Right, this is the second book from the Trigger Pub selection of books that I've got. It's Must Try Harder, Adventures in Anxiety, but also Activities, by Paula Maguire. This is one that I felt really apprehensive about. I didn't like the idea that it was called Must Try Harder. I feel like that's something that a lot of people with mental health issues are told, and it's just a bit of just bullshit that trying harder is going to make you better. Obviously, you've got to mental health and kind of dealing with mental health problems takes an awful lot of energy, and you've got to fight against the issues you're struggling with, but the idea that you've got these problems because you're not trying hard enough is just not true. So this is actually, I found this is probably the most inspirational one that I've read. It's all about Paula, who struggles with anxiety all the way up from when she was a kid up into her 20s, and then she snaps, everything goes downhill, she has a breakdown, and she ends up doing things to completely push herself out of her comfort zone. So she tries out all of the sports involved in the Commonwealth Games. Even if she only tries them once, she's done it. I think she goes on a skydive. She does just so many things that you wouldn't normally do, and it made me think about my anxiety and how I think that I can't do things because of it. And there's so many things that I want to try, and I've always put off for someday, or like almost an alternate version of me, like if I didn't have anxiety I'd do this, and it's made me really think that I want to go and do those things. So yeah, I'm hoping to actually sort my life out and do things that scare me. Right, I've got one that I don't have with me because I'm halfway through reading it and I left it on my kitchen table downstairs, and it's Stand Tall Little Girl by Hope Virgo. It's the third book from Trigger Pub that I've got, and it's all about one girl's kind of battle with anorexia. It takes you from when she was 13 and she first started struggling, and I'm about halfway through now, and the main character is 17 and she's just coming out of basically a mental health unit for people that struggle with eating disorders. And it's just really insightful into the kind of thought patterns and how things can get out of control really easily. There's little snippets from the main character's mum in there to say, kind of, there's always that question of how did nobody notice, and it gives an insight into how and what went on and how she got into the state she was in without anybody intervening beforehand. And it's just really interesting. So this is my next book from Amy. It's one of her top 3 books ever. It's called The Honeymoon by Tina Sexis, and it's a thriller. It's basically a story about a husband and wife that go to the Maldives for their honeymoon, and it's all going well until one night the husband disappears and the wife can't remember what happened that night. She was really drunk. She has no idea if she did something that caused him to go missing. She has no idea if he's run off, if he's died, if she's done something. It's just all very tense and it's intense, and from the beginning I felt a bit iffy about it, but it really got better and better, and I really enjoyed it in the end, and I would definitely recommend. And I think the cover's really nice for this one as well. Right, and here's the final Trigger Pub mental health book. I haven't been asked to speak about these in a video, it's just they're new books that I've got. It's Shiny Happy Person by Terry Cox, and this was the first one I read, and it made me think it was one of the few mental health books that I'd read up until this point that was actually good. It was all about Terry's story about her depression and how she kind of got into this black hole of just sadness and despair and an inability to do things, and how she eventually worked her way out of it. So it's just, it's another really inspirational story that I think is useful for people that are struggling and are in that kind of black pit. Right. This is actually, well, not another mental health publishing book, but it is about mental health issues. There's a bit of a theme here, but not intentionally. It's 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. It's a young adult book. I think this was the third book. That Amy suggested for me to read. I can't quite remember, but I've seen the TV show. I'm halfway through watching series 2 on Netflix, and I'm a bit iffy about series 2, but it's basically all about a girl who commits suicide, and she leaves behind some tapes for 13 people that have contributed to her wanting to commit suicide, and it's all a bit morally dubious, but yeah, it'll be an interesting read nonetheless. Right, so this is Bad Romance by Emily Hill. I love the kind of funky bright pink and leopard print cover and spine, and it says on the back, at a wedding, one woman's revenge comes in the shape of her heavily pregnant belly. As a career girl attempts to climb the ladder, she slides down into ever more grotesque flat shares. A single woman who always attends parties alone realises that the truth might not always be the best answer. And one Londoner learns her most important lesson since moving to the city: never act friendly towards a stranger. So this is a collection of short stories written by Emily Hill, all about bad romances, and I just think it'll be really interesting. I'm not really a big short story fan, I haven't read very many, so it'll be good to kind of push myself out of my comfort zone. Right, it's a big one. This is the second instalment in the Game of Thrones series. I just finished A Game of Thrones last month, and I was shocked by how much I really enjoyed it because I never really got into the series. This one has a much prettier cover than the first one that I've got, so now I kind of want to rebuy the first one in this series. This one is over 800 pages long. The last one was, I think, 780, something like that, but I'm really excited to read it and see where it goes. I've heard that as the books go on they get slower and slower, but I actually did quite enjoy all the detail that was given in the first one, so I think I'll still like it. This is one that, again, it's not something that I would pick up for myself, but it was in August's Reading in Heels box. It's Ma'am Darling by Craig Brown, and it's a story all about it's 99 glimpses of Princess Margaret. I know nothing about Princess Margaret whatsoever. I have no idea why. I've heard of her name, I don't know why she's a princess, like what relation she's got to the royal family, or really anything about her. So I'm excited to read this kind of, yeah, royal family based book, and I think the cover's really pretty as well. Okay, getting into thriller zone now. So this is The Girl in the Ice by Robert Rinzler. I've seen lots of copies of this like displayed all over WH Smith for months and months, and I've seen a few people reviewing it. I haven't read any reviews, but it's all about, it's a detective story. The blurb says, when a young boy discovers the body of a woman beneath a thick sheet of ice in a South London park, Detective Erica Foster is called in to lead the murder investigation. The victim, a beautiful young socialite, appeared to have the perfect life. Yet when Erica begins to dig deeper, she starts to connect the dots between the murder and the killings of 3 prostitutes, all found strangled, hands bound and dumped in water around London. What dark secrets is the girl in the ice hiding? So yeah, I think it's not the first in its kind of series, but I always find with books like this that are detective series, you never need to read them in order anyway. And yeah, I just think the spine's really pretty again, I think the cover's cool, and I'm excited. Right, this is the last thriller of the bunch, and it's Into the Water by Paula Hawkins. So she wrote The Girl on the Train, which was an incredible thriller. It was just, yeah, it's one of my favourites. It's one of everybody's favourites because it was really well written, it was thrilling, it had everything you wanted, and it kind of brought thrillers back into the fore of everybody's mind. And I think that's why, since reading that, there's been so many, like The Girl in the Ice, and there's just been so many thrillers with the words The Girl in the title, and it kind of seems to start them all off. But yeah, this is the second book that Paula's written, and I've only ever seen it in hardback before, so I was excited to find a paperback version, and I'm excited to get cracking with that. Right, 2 left, we're doing well. This is Trigger Warning by Neil Gaiman. It's Short Fictions and Disturbances, so it's a series of short stories by Neil Gaiman which are just designed to kind of freak you out and scare you a little bit, and I just think it sounds like, yeah, I'm trying to push myself out of my comfort zone. I don't really read short stories normally, I don't read scary books, so this is pushing me way out there, and I thought the cover was really nice as well. I follow Neil on Twitter and I've never read any of his books, so I feel like I should. And the last one is The Tiger's Wife by Taya Obrecht, I think. I thought, again, this has a beautiful cover, and the blurb says, my grandfather never refers to the tiger's wife by name. His arm is around me and my feet are on the handrail, and my grandfather might say, I once knew a girl who loved tigers so much she almost became one herself. Because I'm little and my love of tigers comes directly from him, I believe he is talking about me, offering me a fairy tale in which I can imagine myself, and will, for years and years. But yeah, it's just a standard adult fiction novel, but I think I love the little illustration on the cover and the colours, and I think I've heard a few good things about it. So that's the end of my book haul. I really hope you liked it. I'm trying to get back into filming videos because I haven't filmed any in ages, so if I seemed a bit like off and confused and not sure of what I'm saying, that's why. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye!